Welcome to another episode of Dirty Dane Things, and today we're restoring this Orcana organ from the Canadian Electric Organ Company or something. So here's what it looks like before restoring. It's very dusty, very dirty, and it does work, but it has a problem, which you will see soon. So here's the red carpet, as they did in the early 70s, which this is from. I couldn't find much information on this thing, but I do know it's from the early 70s. You can see in the back here there's some mold / water damage, but hopefully that's just contained to the back. Here's the Organ Company of Canada badge with all the little infos and a caution. A little tack in the space where you would put music. Here's some close-up shots, but you can see how dusty, dirty, and just grossness. Here's the volume and off-on knob. And here are the sides, just in case you're wondering. So let's get into it. Let's clean this up a bit. Starting with some paper towel and Windex. Windex is great for cleaning pretty much anything because it's non-corrosive but has cleaning agents in it. It evaporates pretty fast. And anyway, so here's a really sped up version of me kind of just giving it a good cleanup before I actually take it apart. And there's some things that just won't come off, like those little white stains on the part where the cords are. So here it is, semi cleaned up, at least enough that I don't mind touching it. Let's get some of that dust off with my bare hands. So let's get the back off this thing, which of course means unscrewing some shit. But in this case, I'm pretty sure it's only 2 or 3 screws. It's bizarre. But the backing is literal. All this material that this thing is made out of is really cheap. I don't think this is a rare or valuable organ, but I wanted to give it kind of a second life because I think it sounds beautiful and I just love the simplicity of it. But the first thing, of course, is getting the back off this thing and seeing what's inside. Alright, last screw, I think, maybe. Alright, got this thing out. Let's get this cord off of that little notch. And, okay. So I was not expecting there to be pretty much nothing here. The entire actual organ is just above there, and it's not that big. But you can, I guess, see where the carpet wraps around right in the middle there. That's the motor that spins the fan that actually makes the sound. And here's some stuff that was just in it, whether it was dropped in or someone put them in intentionally, I don't know. But a card, a coin. I'll zoom in on this in a second, but you can see that it's from 1975, so that kind of goes along with my theory that it was from the early 70s. This is probably accidentally dropped in one of the slots. This little plastic thing has nothing to do with anything. And then there's this, and this. Just little pieces of garbage, I guess, but I don't know. I'll keep a couple of these things, maybe this thing, because I like this design, but I have no idea what it's from. But it's neat. It's like a little time capsule. Here is the power supply, and that goes to the motor, which spins the fan, which is in it. You can kind of see the enclosure it's in, but we'll get to that soon. So I gotta take these. No, not those. These are just random. You can just see how cheap the construction of this shit was, especially because no one was gonna go inside, right? So inside it's just mad whatever. But yeah, these little brackets here that hold the top and the bottom together. It's just 2 boards. You can hear how it goes Everything works. Here are the chords. So yeah, it sounds a lot like an accordion. And this is the volume switch. And here is just when you turn it down. You can tell that the fan is going down in momentum, but as it does so, it hits something and it makes like tick, 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 tick. So I took out those brackets and flipped the organ around and just placed it down so I could show the inner workings of it, to hear the mechanics of the chords. And whoa, look at that. That's some pretty dusty shit. So we're gonna clean that. We're gonna take every one of these keys out. What fun. Here's a time lapse of me cleaning up the keys. I know, it's super exciting, but some people, including me, just like seeing old things get cleaned up. Even if it's not to the maximum extent that you can do it. Because I know that I could once I take all of these white keys off, also the chord buttons, you can see they're yellow, but they're supposed to be white. And you can see here how the parts exposed to the light are yellow, and the parts not are off-white or white. Same with these. So I could use retro bright or a homemade concoction and make them white again, but like, don't you want something that's kind of old to look a bit old? You want it to run right, you want it to be clean, but it can look old. That's okay. It's battle scars. It's proof of age. It's wisdom. Here's the side part where the switch is, which is really the only digital, if you can call it that, part of it. The rest is entirely mechanical. Here's the tool that they give you inside of the unit. It's kind of like just in between two screws, and you can use it to take the keys off and of course put them on again. And it's a great tool, except for the fact that it's made out of aluminum, I think, and it's very soft. So it's the cheapest of tools, but at least they provide it for you. You can see here that it's not that bad of a process. I struggle with some of the keys, but you eventually get them all off, and you can clean the sides of each one because there's a lot of gunk in between the keys that you don't see. And even though you don't see it, I just want the cleanest, non-smelly, old cheap organ from the early 70s that I can restore, so to speak. But what I really love about this machine is the simplicity. So the keys, as you can probably guess, there's little springs, and that's what I'm taking out here with the tool. And as you press down, it makes the other end go up, and that allows the air to go through, which makes the note. So it's super simple, but I just miss that sometimes. There's no computer at all on this thing. The on-off switch is the closest thing you can get. And the volume, it's literally like a valve that just opens up a hole bigger or smaller, and that's what makes the volume go. So it's not even a volume knob, it's like, how much air do you want out of this? Which I guess is volume, but here I'm trying to use a little duster buster thing to clean it up, but I kind of gave up because it didn't work very well. So I ended up just using a microfiber cloth, a lot of blowing, a lot of just picking out dust, and here's what I came up with. It's not perfect, but it's way better than before. I could have gone around into the little cracks with a Q-tip or whatever, but whatever. And I also could have taken out the chord keys but they weren't that gross, and I think there's enough of a gap in between them that I can clean them. So anyway, here's the fan so I took it off of the main unit, so you can see it's a metal fan. It's very soft aluminum, but that spins around, creates an enormous amount of wind that goes through the holes that you press down on. You can kind of, I don't know if you can hear this, but it definitely hits something. So we're gonna have to take that fan off. So let's do that. Let's see what's going on. Alright, we got it off. So here's the fan. Super simple. And this is what I put on to make it not make that noise. So I actually put it on, tested it, and then took it off again just to show this, but it's just a simple washer. It had to be big enough that it will fit on and thin enough that it won't hit the top once the fan is installed on. But as you can see, you just put the washer down, put the fan down, put the other washer down it came with, and of course the screw. And you can pretty much do this by hand because it's like it only goes a couple threads and then bam, it's there. But let's tighten it up a bit with the wrench for sure. Alright, so let's try this out. Right on. It's not hitting anything, but you can hear and see how it's even vibrating in the camera, how powerful that fucking motor is. Oh fuck, shit. Oh god. Okay, so the camera just fell onto the fan, but it didn't dent it or warp it. So here it is inside of its enclosure, and all we gotta do is connect it to that little hole like so, and put the little screws back in. So here it is, put the screws back in. So what's next? Well, there's all these keys to clean, so let's use our Windex and get to it. I'm not going to film all this because I kind of did it in intervals because there's so many keys. I've already installed a bunch of them just for timeliness sake, but here's a time lapse of me putting on the rest of them. And even though they're still a bit yellowed by the sun, that I can't really clean off. That's a thing you need Retro Bright or hydrogen peroxide and OxyClean, I've heard will work. But for this cheap thing that has no demand, it's not even on eBay, I can't even find any information on this thing. Like, I don't know whether it's really rare or just nobody cares about it. And either way, until I know, I'm not gonna go all out, but I spent quite a bit of time doing this anyway. So here, and in the little bag here, those springs that go in the middle. Alright, so we've got them all installed, and yeah.